process of being vaccinated.
Okay.
You understand newborns don't come in vaccinated, but if the parents have no intention of vaccinating them, then they do need to go elsewhere. We can't risk exposing our other patients.
Who are all vaccinated. Who are all vaccinated. So if they're all vaccinated, then what harm would my children possibly bring to them?
Well, there are some children who can't be vaccinated because they're immunocompromised.
And how would you find that out?
Pardon?
How would you know if they're immunocompromised? How would you know that?
The physician would evaluate.
Right. So my children don't even have that option to be evaluated, do they? Good point, right?
Are they?
They don't even.
The others are old enough that you would have had some evaluation of them.
We're talking about my newborn who was in this office yesterday, who is being refused treatment without a 30-day notice. You took the paperwork, you have all of his information, his health insurance information, you put him on a scale, you measured him, a nurse looked at him, your doctor came in, and then they all refused and walked out of the room without a 30-day notice.
I would not consider that to establish a physician-patient relationship.
You wouldn't consider that. So what does the HIPAA law consider then if you don't consider it? That's in the HIPAA law.
HIPAA's not addressed here.
I'm addressing it right now.
It has to do with confidentiality, not with
HIPAA also states you have to give a 30 to 45-day notice depending on what state you're in.
No, HIPAA doesn't say that.
Then where in the law does it say that you have to give me a 30-day notice?
It doesn't.
It actually does.
Unless there's a physician-patient relationship.
And there is. Yes, there has. They came in the room. They already have my son's information. They weighed him. They measured him. They got his weight and his height, all of his insurance information. To refuse before there was ever that relationship established would have been as soon as she walked into the waiting room, they would have said, sorry, we don't take your insurance, or sorry, we don't have any openings right now. We can't see your child. What they did was they took my child back there, did a couple things to him, and then when they found out that we didn't want to go on their schedule, then they kicked us out of their hospital or out of their little doctor's office. And what you just said is if we have no intentions on getting our children immunized at all, well, that's not the case, because my wife said we don't want them to have all 6. We want polio, and I'll have to call my husband to find out a couple others that would be acceptable right now.
Okay. So what is your intention for?
To slowly get them immunized. I want to get 1 or 2 at a time and make sure that he's fine with those 2 and then go from there.
Have you done that with your others?
That's not at hand here. That's not the question at hand, and I don't have to disclose that information.
Well, you're asking us to deviate from our policy.
No, what I'm telling you is that your policy creates a lesser than standard care, because my child's heart rate wasn't even listened to. Now, if my newborn baby has a heart murmur and dies tonight because of it, who do you think is going to be at fault? You laugh like it's silly. It's not something funny. I'm not here because it's a joke.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm frustrated with the conversation.
But
this is not an unusual policy.
I'm a concerned parent. It's not an unusual policy for the state, but I've lived in 5 different states, and this is the only one that steals your children at birth for absolutely no cause. And this is the only state, and probably medical center, probably not the only medical center, but this is the only state that I've been in that has these policies. Every other state I've gone to, my children have been seen just fine. Every single one of them. Matter of fact, I challenged my last doctor because she had the same stance that this other doctor had. She wanted my oldest to get 5 at once. And I said, look, there's mercury in every single one of them as preservatives. So if you can go back to your office and research it and come back and tell me that these don't have mercury, then I'll do all 5 at once. She came back and said, what 2 do you want? Because I'm the parent. Are you my child's parent?
No.
Is that doctor my child's parent?
No.
Does that office have anything to do with parenting my child?
No.
So then why are they making parental decisions?
They're making medical recommendations.
No, they're not making recommendations when they no longer choose to see my children.
And we have absolutely every right to do that. And you will find other practices around the community that are not owned by CMC.
I'm not going to any other practice. I'm going to this one.
Policy.
And my children will be seen at your hospital and your doctor's office. And my child needs a referral to get his penis taken care of. So how is that going to happen if your doctors won't even see him? How does my son get a circumcision if he needs a referral to have it done?
Then you need to find a pediatrician that will accept a child who is not being vaccinated.
It has nothing to do with not being vaccinated. He's a newborn child. You just told me yourself that newborns don't have vaccinations.
Newborns need to be... How old is he now?
A month and a half.
Okay, because it seemed longer than that since we had spoken. But I would think by a month and a half he would have had his first round by now. Is that? It's been a long time since I had.
Out of how many? Out of how many visits though? Out of how many visits? Because you guys recommend within the first week and a half we bring the child back here again, and then another week and a half after that, and then it's 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks. So would he get all those shots in one dose, all 6 normally? No. The answer is no, he wouldn't. So my 4-year-old who is possibly 10 immunizations behind, I asked the nurse this yesterday. I said, would he then get all 10 at once? And she said, no, of course not. I said, well, then I'm simply requesting my newborn not get all those shots at once. Why does it have to be that way? It's either all or nothing with you guys. Why? And she stated, because your policy here at this hospital, and that you guys are owned, that they're owned by you guys.
Okay.
So I'm trying.
The pediatricians are the ones who asked us to establish that policy. The pediatricians.
Okay, but you established a policy that is causing more harm than good. Because I'm not going to go to a doctor, okay, and I'm going to go to DHEC, and I'm going to get an exemption form for my children, and all 4 of them are going to be in these public schools where your kids go into your doctor's offices. So what's more harm? Doing an immunization once every 2 months, or none of them? You guys are creating more harm than good, and I'm here to tell you that. As a father of 4, I'm here to tell you. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned that there's other kids out there whose their parents believe, whether it's religious or whether they feel like immunizations might harm their child. It should be their choice not to give that child what they think might harm them. That's their choice. It should be their choice. And that child should be seen by a doctor. It is not fair for you to not care for my children because I'm deciding that they're not going to be on what you guys call a schedule of immunizations that kill children daily.
I don't believe there's any evidence that immunizations are killing children.
You don't have to, but there's parents out there all over the country that are trying to sue doctors' offices, the manufacturers of the vaccinations. You probably haven't even ever researched vaccinations.
Well, we have staff who take care of that.
Right, and they're run by the government. Everything is approved by the government, all of it.
Well, there are also states that are having epidemics of measles right now because parents are not having their children vaccinated.
And I never said...
That's what we're concerned about.
And I never said I wouldn't have my child vaccinated for measles. I never said that.
Okay.
But you are not going to give my child an HPV vaccination.
Okay.
Okay, so that should be my...
Did anybody tell you we had to do that?
No, but if I follow your schedule, all of my children will have to have that. That's my point. You can't tell me what my child has to have. You cannot. And you still have to see my child for the next 30 days.
No.
No? Really? Because your nurse, who actually does this every day, said, yes, we do. And we're going to send you that notice. If you don't come in tomorrow during your appointment, we'll send it in the mail.
Okay.
Because by law, because by law, you have 30 days to end that relationship. And instead of doing it legally by law, you did it right there in the doctor's office and sent my child out with who knows what's wrong with him over a policy. So this is all going to the medical board. And I actually have one expert witness for the last incident at your hospital. I'm going to hire 2 more, and I'm going to sue not only this hospital, but I'm going to sue the nurses. Now I'm going to have to sue this doctor's office unless all 4 of my children get in to see that doctor. It's not fair. You can't tell me that my child with bowed legs at a year and a half old should not have medical treatment at this point. Up until a year and a half, there's nothing that anybody's going to do.
Okay.
Once they hit a year and a half, then there's other things like physical therapy. They might even break the legs and re-straighten them. It's pretty bad. That same child had a referral to go down to Charleston to get a helmet. We went 6 times to Charleston. 6 times before we got the helmet. So if my child, my newborn, that you guys refused to see yesterday, needs a helmet, he needs a circumcision, y'all haven't listened to his heart, you haven't checked his development yet, we're just, well, that's fine, right?
Are you going to accept a measles vaccination for all 4 of your children?
When I feel it's necessary.
Well, Well, that's the problem.
It's not the problem.
Because your